Hi, everyone. We are so excited for you to listen and watch our first episode of season 7. But before we do, we have to say thank you to a few different people and organizations. So first of all, thank you so much to Pop Culture Collaborative, who has been supportive of Sista Brunch and especially wants us to continue to build out an ecosystem so that we can reach people across the world and help them and nurture them and uplift Black women and Black gender expansive people who are working in film, TV, and media. We also want to say thank you to our fiscal sponsor, Women Make Movies. And finally, we owe you this, Tatiana Johnson. Thank you so much for being a subscriber, a paid subscriber on Patreon. If you'd like to join us on Patreon, you can at patreon.com/sistabrunch, SISTA. But Tatiana, thank you so much, not just for being a patron on Patreon, but also for all the ways that you support the podcast. In fact, we are here in this beautiful studio because of you at You Podcaster. So thank you so much, Tatiana, and Pop Culture Collaborative and Women Make Movies. And now let's get into this first episode. Welcome back to season 7 of the Sista Brunch podcast. I'm Fanchon Cox, and I am the co-creator and the host of the Sista Brunch podcast. And we have another amazing guest. We are bringing you the podcast this season from a beautiful studio in the heart of Hollywood that is Black-owned. You Podcaster, we are so proud to be bringing our podcast here for this season. And we are so proud to have today's guest to tell you about her story. And her name is familiar to all. She is really an icon, a person who helped create a space for Black storytelling at a time when we really didn't have a lot of options. So, Ms. Felicia D. Henderson, welcome to the Sista Brunch podcast.
Thank you, Pasha. I'm so happy to be here. It's been a while. It's been a long time coming.
It has been a long time coming. We'll talk about this. I know I got to see Rebel Girls during your Oscar push, and this should have been nominated for an Oscar. We'll just say that, but we'll talk about that some. And in fact, we love to start with your journey. I mean, what you're known for in the beginnings of your career, of course, is soul food. Creating the TV show, and now you have done all the way through to your directorial debut with Rebel Girls. So take us as far back as you'd like to, that lets us know your journey to getting to a place to doing soul food and now to being a director.
Yes, thank you so much. Wow. Okay, we don't have that kind of time. But it's interesting to start, at the beginning, and then we'll jump ahead a little bit.
Yes.
But, I was working in corporate finance. And my boss said, if you're going to stay in corporate finance, you're going to need to get an MBA. So I started looking for money because I didn't have any. Mm-hmm. And there was the Peabody Foundation in conjunction with NBC, the network, had a fellowship for a full ride at the University of Georgia where the Peabodys are housed.
Amazing. Okay.
And for MBAs who were interested in managing in network television. So I was like, it's a full ride. Suddenly I was very interested in management and television. And that's what I wrote. My essay was like all I've ever wanted to do, right? And but I had been working in like mergers and acquisitions and trading financial futures like at Kidder Peabody. But suddenly that's what I wanted to do. And I got the fellowship.
Amazing.
And so it really starts there, which again was NBC. So that gave me my introduction to NBC. I didn't know anyone in the business, even though I'm from Pasadena.
Oh, I was going to ask, so you're from Pasadena?
I am. So even though I was from here, I didn't really know anyone. Okay. And from that and getting a chance to meet the CEO of NBC and then finishing my MBA in corporate finance, allowed me then to apply to the NBC management training program. So it was at NBC in Burbank that I read my first scripts. And I was just fascinated. And it was like when NBC was the #1 network. So it was a lot of great stuff. It was maybe the end of the Cosby Show, but the beginning of Seinfeld and Friends, stuff like that.
Yes.
And it was just, you read all these scripts, and some of them pilots were just really bad. And I didn't understand. I'm like, so when it's bad, do you still pay them? Like, I knew nothing. And they're like, yes, they still get paid. I was like, this is a fascinating business.
I kind of like this.
And so really, in that program, I went through almost every department and really learned, how a network is run. And then from there, the man who was the president of NBC at the time, Warren Littlefield, said, I really think you're a writer. I see the notes you give on the shows we assign you. And I was like, I don't think I am. He's like, no, I think you are. And told me about the Warner Brothers Writers Workshop. And I had to write a script. So it was my first script ever. At the time, it was only a comedy program. So that's how I started in comedy. And so I wrote my first script, which was the original Roseanne show. And I got in the program. Yeah. So I had been writing.
We're going to have to just stop being surprised by all of it.
My story is a story of good fortune, of blessings, of
talent, meeting those opportunities.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
Yes.
It really is though about being ready. It's about, working hard. It's about looking around and saying, I'm going to outwork everyone, because you can be talented and still never get a break, if you rely on that talent, but don't want to do the hard work. So that was really the beginning. And that was about 25 years ago. And I started as an apprentice on a show called Family Matters.
Yes.
It's the Urkel show. Some people know. I always say the first house I bought was the house that Urkel built,
Oh my goodness.
And from there, I spent several years then in comedy and on The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and Moesha and Sister and Everybody Hates Chris before transitioning to, Everybody Hates Chris was after Soul Food, but Soul Food was, again, as a result, I'm a real believer in making sure as you start to feel people trying to put you in a box, start fighting your way out of it before they can put up that fourth wall, So I went back to school.
I'm so sorry because I'm fascinated, and I know we don't have enough time today, but you'll have to come back. For each of those shows, were you moving up the ladder?
Oh, yes.
Right. So did you start as
as an apprentice on Family Matters. So so I was a Warner Brothers Writers Workshop trainee.
Okay. And I will say too, shout out to Warner Brothers, shout out to NBC Universal, and now NBC Universal, because I'm a little hard on studios that they have a lot of DEIA programs. They have a lot of labs and things. And we don't always hear about them hiring the people who go through those programs. You are a testament to at least some folks get hired.
It was a different time because at the time, so shout out to them, but not a shout out to them for ending the program. Let's be clear.
Yep.
So it was really the Disney program and the Warner program were the only ones. So it was incredibly prestigious, incredibly difficult to get into. And at the time, diversity really meant women and,
white women.
It meant white women. It meant, people over 40. So I think the year I was in was like 18 of us, and that was around the average, 18 to 20 per year.
Okay.
And about 50% of those would get staffed on a show as an apprentice.
Right.
And believe it or not, again, the program didn't place me on Family Matters. I wasn't placed on a show at all.
Well, see.
And
then I take all, you know what? I take all that back.
Don't take it back.
No, because
lots of, going
we
back to.
We see this pattern a lot.
No, like, some of our first Black showrunners, the Winnie Herveys of the world came through that program.
Okay.
And, without her footsteps, I wouldn't be here.
Okay.
So people like her, and some other people, lots of good people have come through that program. Okay. But it was, it's politics everywhere. You have to be someone's favorite no matter where you go. and I wasn't. And then I just happened to run into someone, while I was walking around the lot, who was like, "Hey, aren't you in that program?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's ending. I didn't get placed." He's like, "Really?" Well, I'm the exec on, Family Matters. And I don't think they took anyone out of the program. They didn't really like any of the scripts. He's like, "Let me ask if they read your script." And they had not, because I wasn't a favorite. So they'd never seen it.
Mm.
And they read it and said, "We'll meet with her."
Yes.
And I was like at work a week later.
Oh my goodness.
So had I not run into Andy Horn, big shout out to Andy
Thank
Horn.
you, Andy.
Yes, who I had met while at NBC as
Yes.
as a man in the management training program.
Okay.
He was an assistant. He was Quincy Jones's assistant on The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
See.
And so, or an assistant in his company anyway. And we just hit it off. And so running into him on the Warner Brothers lot, where he was now working at Warner Brothers, was very fortuitous for me.
I love that. And that is a don't burn your bridges moment, but also within people that you connected with, right?
Yes.
Like, you don't have to stay friendly with everybody, but the ones that you do and you connect, you hang on.
Yeah. And if you can't stay like friendly, you can't stay in touch, just make sure when you had that relationship, it's something that they remember fondly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. Right.
So that when you come up, I mean, the job, when I went to The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, there was a co-executive producer who the showrunner's like, "Does anyone know this writer?" And it was me. And there was, then a co-executive producer just went home that night and was telling his wife about some of the people who were meeting. And his wife was an assistant on another show that I had been when I was in the management training program. She's like, "Oh, I know her. She would come on set."
Yeah.
She would come in the offices, and whenever she was like there for lunch, she'd always ask the assistants, "Did you guys want anything? Or we're going out." It's like she was always so nice to the assistants. And that, of course, then made an impression on her husband, who went back to work. It's like, "Here's one we should really go ahead and meet."
Okay.
So it's just like, it's so simple, right? Just be decent to people.
Just be a good person.
Yeah.
Be a good person. Do your work. Show up, right?
Yes.
Kind of do a little extra work.
Do a little extra work.
So, okay. At what point, what was the point of becoming a show creator? And how did you have imposter syndrome, or were you ready at that point? I mean, it sounds like you've had some confidence all along.
I got to tell you, I find imposter syndrome really funny.
Because you're like, what is that?
I have never had that.
Yes.
Like I have that.
Yes, be like Felicia, everybody. Yeah, we talk about that a lot, right? Because it can get in your
because
way.
How am I an imposter if I did the work? Like nobody gave me anything.
You did the work.
So I've never, ever felt like, "Oh my God." I'm like, no, I should be here.
Yes.
I should be like even other places, in fact.
Okay.
So I never have felt that. But I mean, I felt super blessed. I have and continue to have moments where I'm pinching myself, just for my good fortune. But no. But I will tell you, I have moments where I'm like, what do I want to do next? How do I keep growing? Like I said, I see you trying to build that box around me. Let me kick down that wall before you can seal it. And you look at it like, well, what else do I do? And that's when I was like, well, what I do naturally. I never studied writing. So I was very curious about, what is it called? What are what is the structure? What are the rules? What is it all? And so I applied to the UCLA MFA program so that I could learn just, the theory behind what I did naturally. And learn to write screenplays. Like I just didn't know. And I got to UCLA and, wrote my first full-length screenplay, which was autobiographical about a part of my family, my relationship with my brother, who had gotten into trouble, and about all I was willing to do to help him get out of it. And it won the screenwriting contest there. Right at the time that Paramount Studios and Showtime was looking for a writer to adapt the Soul Food film into a series. So it just was, and it was interesting because when I met on it with the Paramount drama development executive, she was like, there's a comedy writer named Felicia. I was like,
you're like, no, that's a box that you're trying to put.
That's me, she's like, no way. But had I not gone to UCLA, had I not written a, family drama feature, and just with my comedy resume said, I want to be considered, they're like,
they would have never considered you. You had now really proven yourself to be able to do both.
That's right.
And speaking of like busting out of all of the boxes, you are now a director.
So much fun.
So let's talk about a couple things. We're going to connect our Let's Talk Tech segment with you talking about Rebel Girls. Tell us about the film. And then for Let's Talk Tech, is there a piece of technology that just in the same way you went to UCLA for the MFA to learn the structure of screenwriting, even though you already knew, but then to really, and then for your technology piece, what did you have to learn to be a good director on Rebel Girls?
Oh, that's a good question. I also want to make sure it's called The Rebel Girls.
Oh,
because there's a series of books called Rebel Girls. So want to make sure.
Absolutely.
Everybody's happy.
We'll make sure. Okay, good. Yep. So should I lead in?
I think it's okay, but just going forward, I should have told you that.
No,
because
I'm so glad you said it, and I'm sure I should have picked up on it.
No, many people make
the Rebel
mistakes.
Girls.
So, yeah. You know what? With the Rebel Girls, I really knew that I wanted to include this idea of magical realism. I knew that I wanted to, if my story was set in the civil rights era in the middle of the movement, I knew I didn't want to, and I don't say just in a pejorative way, of course, but I knew I wanted to do more than just be like a biopic. And so I thought, how do we explore the internal lives of these girls who are, captured, making sure that they look three-dimensional, making sure that we as a people don't look monolithic. And I thought, God, they're girls, they're 10 to 16. So how do we show like everything girls of that age go through? So it became really important. I love visual effects anyway. And it became very important to go, well, how do I enter their fantasy world? What do they want to do with their lives? And it was a fun way to be thinking about the story all the time, because in a way, it felt a little bit like the way we think of animation. Like when you're doing animation, you can do anything. You can jump out that window, turn a backflip, come back and sit back in your chair.
Yes.
And so I thought about it like that while working on the story. So visual effects and all of the tools that are related to visual effects, like CGI is just the beginning, just became the way that I think. And I loved it so much.
Yes.
And being able to take some of even our still photography and use that as part of what we were doing to show their dreams, and doing little things like there's a horrible moment where they are splashed with dirty water. And I thought, even in their fantasy sequences, I want to remind the audience they're still locked up in that stockade. So through visual effects, we're able to place that horrible bucket. And if you saw it again, you'd be like, oh, no matter, she's singing, for President Kennedy at this big ball. But if you watch her come down the stairs, in the corner of the stairs is that nasty bucket.
Oh.
And so for me, technology allowed me to tell my story.
Yes.
Visual effects allowed me to tell my story in a way, or to be even more creative than I would have otherwise. So no, I'm not walking around using visual effects in my everyday life. But what I am now as a storyteller, I am always thinking of ways to use visual effects. And it just frees your mind.
Yes.
As a storyteller, to think about, I could, and, as they're running at the end to escape, as they're running, their clothes change.
Yes.
So it's just like,
amazing.
oh, they're freedom clothes.
Yes.
Now, obviously, you're not running to freedom and going, and now it's time to change my clothes. But with looking at the fantasy of it all,
yes.
and really the symbolism behind it, again, visual effects allowed us to say, oh, in their minds, they are free now.
Beautiful.
Yes.
That's beautiful. It's right. So VFX is a way to liberate us and
Yes.
liberate our stories in the
Yes.
way that these girls liberated themselves.
Yes.
I wish we had time to talk more about the film itself, but we're going to be putting this, you'll be our first episode for Black History Month, because there's some things that we want to make sure the audience knows, like they'll be able to see the film right now.
So one of the most wonderful things that has happened with the film is that we made a deal with American Airlines.
Yes.
And so you take American Airlines domestic flight, but they include Canada in domestic.
Right,
So
right.
US and Canada, you can watch the film.
Yes.
And also coming up, Black History Month is the African American Critics Association Gala.
Yes.
And we are being honored as the best live action short film. Best live action film is Sinners, of course. We won't be doing that.
A close
Yes.
second.
We're the best, yes, but we have won the best
Yes.
live action short
Yes.
by Black critics, and that is
everything.
It really is.
It is everything.
I was like,
for
beyond
this story in
thrilled.
particular,
Yes.
because it is, I think we're in a time of struggling with trauma stories. They call it trauma porn, right? And that it's hard for Black folks to be able to tell stories that have a historical perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And folks are saying, well, we don't want it. But first of all, we were never the ones that got to tell those stories.
Yes.
So we've seen them, but it wasn't, we weren't directing them. But then you adding this magical realism element, I think, is part of how we can do it in a way that isn't traumatizing, re-traumatizing for us, right? And
I have I am very challenged by this idea.
Me too.
It pisses me off.
Me
to be
too.
quite
Good.
frank.
I'm with you. Yes.
It pisses me off that we as Black people would be helping a white Hollywood to erase, not just white Hollywood, America, to erase our history.
Right.
Because that's what it really is.
Yep.
We didn't come up with this term of Black joy, but we've embraced it as if without realizing what it really is. And so I don't ever use trauma porn. I find it incredibly disrespectful to our history. Yep. I also believe, though, that we do have a responsibility to tell stories in a new way so that people aren't bored, right? Because first and foremost, our job is to entertain.
Yes.
So we can tell our stories and be entertaining first and foremost. We also tend to tell, even in the Black community, just the stories of the great men. So no disrespect, but we've seen 1,000 MLK projects, right? Yep. But what about like this story of the children who arguably reinvigorated the civil rights movement has never been told because it's about girls. And we tend to go, how can we tell that story of the great men one more time?
Right. If you are enjoying this episode of Sista Brunch, you have got to join the whole community. And we are over here. All these conversations we have on Sista Brunch, you will be able to do this with us weekly, even daily on Patreon. So you can find us at patreon.com/Sista Brunch. You can join us for free. I mean, if you've got funds, we appreciate that too. You can have a monthly membership or join us for free. You're going to get behind the scenes. You're going to get some sneak peeks at episodes. We've got merch. We've got conversations going on over there that you can't see us having publicly, really. This is our place to really talk about all the things that we talked about at those original Sista Brunches in person. We are doing over on our Patreon, so join us there.
Hi, I am Felicia D. Henderson, and you are watching the Sista Brunch podcast.
Our next question is on financials. And this is really just on, in that same way that, the historical perspective is important to continue to tell those stories. And it's also important to talk about financials because so that we, avoid the imposter syndrome. So we hear numbers and wrap our heads around what things cost. So maybe just talking about the budget, especially because you included VFX. Do you want to talk about that and or salaries for writing?
Oh my gosh. Well, I wrote it, so there was no salary for me. And I directed it, so there was no salary for me.
You produced it. I mean, you had produced, but you really, right? You did all of it.
I'm a showrunner, so I had, not that I didn't learn a ton from the process, but I think that the reason I don't talk about the budget, to be honest, is because, yes, I had investors, 2 investors in particular who financed probably like 98% of it.
Amazing.
One investor probably financed 80% of it. And then another one took us to about 98. And then about 5 more took us the last, percentage point and because it is, because I had so many favors. And as a person who never asked anyone for anything, I grew, because I had to say to Kurt Farquhar, who's my composer, he's the only composer I've worked with like in 25 years. But, Kurt, how much, like, what would it? And he was like, girl, you can't afford me. What do you need? And so he just came to the table for free. And my post house that did the finishing, and my amazing colorist at the foundation in Burbank. I've done 2 series with them. And so they're like, just come. And, and the same with my sound design, with my sound house. I've done 2 series with them. Those are both places, though, that I will work with for the rest of my career. But they just did it because, and I
love that. I'll just say, I think that's a perfect answer to the financials question. We, obviously sometimes we talk specific numbers, but also to understand that it is okay to ask for favors, especially if you don't do it frequently, right?
Yes,
Which, to your
you can
point,
be. People are like, come on now.
You probably could ask more, right? But
no,
still,
you have to. Like, I wouldn't do that again.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I would have to. Like, I learned that I didn't raise enough money. I learned that I did not consider the festival circuit because originally
the cost of that.
Yeah. Oh my God, which was astronomical.
Yeah, right.
But I mean, like literally 2 of, I think we were in 15. I think we won like 13 of 15 festivals.
It was nonstop.
And I didn't go to all of them, but I went to like Cannes, and that was a little bit of money.
And you received an award at Cannes.
Yes. I received an award there.
Yes.
And the inaugural Black Women Cannes.
Yes.
Legacy Award.
Yes.
And so, but I paid for that. The American Black Film Festival, which is an amazing festival, is the only one that all expenses were paid. In Miami.
Shout out to
yes, thank you,
ABFF.
Nicole and Jeff Friday. Yes.
We love the Fridays.
Yes.
Feel free to bring Sista Brunch on because we love y'all.
Okay, exactly. You should be at like
I know
ABFF.
you're right. No, we were just talking about that. We've done Essence a couple times.
Yes.
But we need to, we love that idea.
And it was an amazing time. And, but everywhere else, I think, it's like, we could give you a hotel for a night at maybe 2 other festivals. But, so I didn't to raise more money. But also my goal was to do a short film that was also a proof of concept for a limited series.
Yes.
Right. So I wasn't really thinking like, I need to go on. Yes.
Right.
Yes. Still the goal.
Good.
Still the goal. And so I wasn't really thinking I'd do all these festivals. I was thinking, And now I
People
take it to
see and now you
studios.
pitch it, right?
And then it was like, oh my God, it's a whole festival thing now.
Yes, as it needs to be. I am so sorry. Our producer is standing at this point telling us to wrap up. We have our final question. We're going to do it. Okay, so you and your younger self are sitting down to a Sista Brunch.
Mm-hmm.
What are you both eating? And what are you both drinking? And you can either make her young or over 21, up to you, depending on what you want to be drinking with her. And then what do you tell her?
Okay, that's a lot of questions.
Yes.
Okay, first of all, younger Felicia and present day Felicia are both eating pizza.
Yes. Favorite toppings?
It's always been like my favorite. It's that if you had to go to an island and there was one, it would be pizza.
I'm with you. Yes.
I don't get to eat it as much as I want because as you get older, you can't just be eating pizza every day.
My doctor said I gotta stop.
Yes, exactly. But I'm mostly vegetarian. I'm now like vegan-ish.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's mostly vegetables.
Okay.
It's always vegetables, like a bunch of different vegetables. I love, sun-dried tomatoes and stuff like that, and mushrooms and olives. And so yes, it just like, older Felicia's eating a better pizza.
Yeah. Yes.
Younger Felicia was eating like Geno's frozen that my mama would bring home.
Yes.
So that is what we're eating.
Okay.
I don't really drink.
That's okay.
Although about every 6 months at a Mexican restaurant there will be a margarita.
Yeah, okay,
I do love myself a good margarita.
Yes.
But it's literally probably 2 times a year.
Mm-hmm.
So but I love Arnold Palmer's. I love sparkling water. Younger Felicia's just drinking flat. She would have probably thought like, oh, why is there bubbles? And it's not like a Coke. Like, what is that? So she is probably, you know what she's drinking? Dr. Pepper.
Oh, I love that.
I was obsessed
Dr. Pepper and pizza
with
is
Dr.
a
Pepper
perfect
when I was
combination,
young.
I have to say.
I was obsessed. If it wasn't in the house, I was like, I don't understand. Like, why does no one love me in this house? Like, it was ridiculous. And the last part was...
What do you tell her?
Oh, wow. I guess it does depend on her age. I think, and that's probably the best version to talk to, because the teenage version, because she had the most difficult time. I started by the time I went to UCLA as an undergrad as well, and then went back and got my MFA and my PhD from UCLA.
I know we didn't even talk about that.
Yes. Well, I will not leave here without giving a shout out to Northwestern and my Wildcats, where I'm on faculty now. Okay. So go Wildcats in the film and television department. But the teenage years were really rough as I tried to figure out who I was and also what I was to do. Where do you fit in? Even when you're in the popular group, what is your place in your space and who are you? It was trying to figure that out. And being a working class kid who always was around students who had more, because I was always an AP kid or gifted kid, or had lots of opportunities that my background alone would not have afforded me. So it was a tough time in trying to figure all of that out. And so what I would say to her is, hold on. You will figure out who you are, where you belong, and what your purpose is. And everything you're doing now will lead to your purpose, which is, one, to create and to empower young girls of color. And had I not known exactly what it was to need to be empowered, I would not be so good at my commitment to them. So also shout out to She Rose Rise, which I'm on the board of, which is a sort of Saturday leadership academy that focuses on Black and brown girls.
Felicia D. Henderson, this has been way too short.
Yes, it has.
We have to have you back, and I know you came a long way.
No worries at all. I'm so glad to be
grateful. We're honored. We're proud to have you on the podcast.
Thank you.
Yes, this has been
Thank you
special.
for having me. I appreciate
Everyone,
it.
see this incredible short film. Help do what you can to help get it made. If any executives are listening to this podcast, give her a call. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. And congratulations to you guys for the amazing job that you're doing, giving us a voice, giving us a place to speak our truth.
Sista Brunch is brought to you by Trujillo Productions. Our show creators are Anya Adams, Christabel Nciabwadi, and me, Fanchon Cox. Our season 7 producers are Tasha Rogers and Samantha K. Henderson. Our associate producers are Charlie T. Savage and Ashanti Groves. Sista Brunch is recorded on the unceded territory of the Tongva and the Chumash people in Los Angeles, and specifically in Hollywood at U Podcaster Studios, a Black-owned studio right in the heart of Hollywood. We are so grateful for your support, for joining our community on Patreon at patreon.com/sistabrunch or donating at givebutter.com/sistabrunch. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you next week.